Hello everyone and welcome to the live stream. Please say hi. Let me know what country you're in. Marcel, say hi Marcel. Hey SA. Keeping it here, hi there. From California. Great to have you in here. How are you both feeling? How's everything going for you today? Keeping it said could be better, but pushing through. Good for you. You know, that is the only thing we can do, is to keep pushing forward. Even though life can be very challenging, we've just got to keep moving forward. Andrej is here. Hello from Serbia. Thank you very much for joining me. Wow, it would be very late where you are. I'm guessing even later than where I am, and it's pretty late where I am. Thank you everybody for joining today's live stream. Please say hi and let me know whereabouts in the world you are. Marcella said good. It's midnight. No contact for 8 months. Going strong, but she started watching my stories. Well, that is always something to feel good about. You know, if your ex is watching your stories, then it is showing that they're interested in what you're doing. Now, I do say try not to get too hung up on your ex's online activity, because sometimes we just don't know why they're doing something and we don't want you feeling confused or upset. But ultimately, if your ex is watching your stories, then, you know, that means that they want to see what you're doing. You know, that has to be a good thing. Andrej said, yes, it's midnight. Yep, you're an hour ahead of me. Gosh. Nikki said, hi Nikki. Nikki is in the UK along with myself. Mohamed said, hi Mohamed. My ex broke up with me and blocked me from everything. What to do? It's been 5 months now. So you're in a very difficult situation. I spoke about this not too long ago regarding blocking and how it's not a good position. You know, we can't pretend that it is. However, I have known of people who were blocked and then ultimately long term were unblocked. Now, I can't guarantee that will happen for you. There is no guarantees in this world. But right now, the only suggestion I can make is for you to focus on your own journey and push forward, because you can't cheat a blocking. You know, you've been blocked from everything. So at this stage, the full focus has to be on yourself. And hopefully in the future, if your ex starts to think about you, they will be more likely to unblock you if you don't cause them stress and problems right now. So my suggestion would be, don't try and cheat the blocking, because it's not likely to help you in any way, shape or form. Keeping it as said, partner and I have been on and off for 4 years due to communication choices. However, I'm the one always ghosted, blocked and having to reach out to get movement. How can I break this pattern? I've been in no contact for 2 months. So I would suggest that if you feel you're having to almost force the issue, then unfortunately any reaction you've had so far has probably not been authentic. Meaning, if you have to persuade somebody, if you have to convince somebody to want to be with you or to respond to you or to meet you or anything like that, then it's not something they've come to within their own thoughts, and therefore it's not likely to be real and authentic and something that they truly believe in. And if that's the case, it's sadly likely to fall back, which I think is probably what's happened. You know, if you've had ups and downs and you feel that you're the one always kind of pushing forward with it, and then it breaks down again, it's perhaps that when you've made that breakthrough, it's not been because they've actually regrown enough romantic emotional attraction. Instead, and unfortunately, it's due to the fact that you've almost persuaded your ex, and then when they thought about it a bit more, they've kind of thought, no, I don't really want to do this. So my suggestion is to maintain that no contact. I don't know your exact specifics, but by and large, generally speaking, I would suggest you never contact your ex again unless they contact you first. 2 months might feel like a long time, and it feels like it's been forever, I'm sure, but it's still only a third of the way through before the average amount of time that I see dumpers, if that is the situation with you, when they're most likely to reach out, which is 6 months and beyond. So yes, 2 months might feel a long time, but in reality, it probably isn't. So my suggestion is to keep and maintain that no contact and really concentrate on your own journey. Marcella said, I never follow her stories, yet she still does. Thanks to you, forever grateful. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that has helped. One small problem. Her daughter was my daughter from the age of 4 until 9. She called me dad, and now I did not get to say goodbye, and I know she misses me too. That is so painful when you are the step parent, so to speak. You put in the effort, you put in the time, you put in the love, you build a bond, but then legally you have nothing to go on, or at least I believe that's the case in many countries. The step parent doesn't really have any legal right. Very, very difficult, very, very challenging. But for now, all you can do, Marcel, is to try and really focus on you and your path forward. Because unfortunately, unless there's a law that I'm not aware of where you live, you're not going to be able to see the child, even though they once called you dad, because legally, I'm assuming legally, they're not technically yours. So very difficult situation, very sad, and I really feel for you. Keeping It said, that makes sense. It's the longest in no contact, thank you. It is hard, but I will continue to concentrate on myself. It really is tough. It's only when you've been going months and months and months that you look back and you think, oh, right, that wasn't so bad. It's a bit like saying when someone is in the first week of no contact, they feel like it's forever. But then you doing 2 months, you will look back and go, well, a week. Yeah, a week's a week. Similarly, if you get to 6 months, you will look back and probably think, well, 2 months, that wasn't so bad. I managed to get through that, and so on and so on. It is really challenging, but my thoughts on this is, in reality, you don't have much choice. You don't really have an option. The opposite of no contact is contact. So if you were to do the opposite of no contact and continue to find ways to contact your ex, you're more likely to chase them even further away from you. And therefore, what is more likely to help you? Well, I would suggest my version of a no contact rule. And I say my version because there are all of these other versions you can find. And in particular ones that say, for instance, 30-day no contact rule. I just do not believe in anything like that. I'm sure you've come across those type of versions of a rule. I just don't believe in those being helpful tactics, shall we say. Just Blazing has said, ex apologised to me for leaving me so abruptly. 7-year relationship, been broke up with since the 12th of October 22. I've read that in the English way. If you're in America, I know that would be the 10th of December. It's so confusing, we do our dates the other way around. But either way, we haven't spoke since August of last year. Good relationship. I'm blocked on Instagram but not on the phone. What's your take? We loved each other a lot and spent a lot of time together. We spoke about marriage and planned on proposing a couple of months later if we hadn't broken up. So a 7-year relationship, that is a really, really good chunk of time. Your ex will have many memories, many triggers. There's a very good chance that can really pull on them. Obviously there was a lot that I'm sure was good about your relationship to last that long. However, you haven't spoke since August of last year. Although you did say at the top, ex apologised to me for leaving me so abruptly. So I don't know when this apology was, if you haven't spoke since August. I might be misunderstanding that a little bit, but the crux of the situation is, if your ex hasn't reached out to you for an unnecessary reason, the likelihood is that they don't want to be with you at this time. Now, nothing is guaranteed. There might be some random reasons, but by and large, if somebody isn't reaching out to you after they've ended a relationship, it's because they don't want to connect. So your choices are either go through no contact, or, as I said earlier, the opposite of no contact is contact. And if you were to do that, you're much more likely to annoy, frustrate, and upset your ex. So the way I look at it is, I always want to increase the chance of success. We can't guarantee it, but we can increase the chance. And therefore, upsetting and annoying someone is not likely to help our cause. So I would say your best option, just blazing in this regard, is to maintain no contact, even though you might feel it's already been a very long time. There's probably not a lot of other option you have at this moment. Again, I don't know your specifics, but by and large, that's my take. Andrea just said, my ex left me a little more than 6 months ago. Sometimes I felt like it happened yesterday, and sometimes I can go a couple of hours without thinking about her, but it gets better as the time goes by. It's really, really difficult when you're going through a breakup and you feel that it's been so long since you spoke to your ex. Like, sometimes you might feel okayish, and then you might think back and realise how long it's been and feel almost frightened. If I can help soothe you in any way, what I would say is that although I might say the average amount of time that I see is around 6 months for a dumper to reach out to a dumpy, but that doesn't mean that 6 months is the only time you could hear from them. I've had clients, I've spoke to people about situations where they haven't heard from their ex in years, and then they do. Now you might think, well, I wouldn't even want my ex back at that point. I'm not saying that you would, but what I am saying is that it's possible. And although you shouldn't wait for your ex, you can't wait for them, because there's no guarantee that they will ever return to you. So you can't be sitting around wasting your life, because life is finite, life is precious. We've got to keep pushing forward and living our life the best we can. But what I am saying is that they might return when you least expect it. And that is the comfort I want to try and give you, that there is no official time limit. The most crazy story I've heard was actually a client of my audio coaching service telling me about their grandparent, I think it was, where they basically told me this story of how their grandparent lived in this village, and all of a sudden they heard of someone, but something along the lines of their grandparents' ex from 30 years prior had gone to the village looking for them and went to the local shop and basically said, hey, have you ever seen or heard of this person? And this grandparent still lived in that village, and there was a reconnection based on that. Now, this isn't my own experience. This wasn't even my client's experience. It was my client's grandparents' experience. But still, 30 years of no contact, and then they came looking for them. So never say never. That's the point of this. Never say never, but please try not to get hung up on the situation, because that isn't healthy if you're counting the days thinking it's going to happen, because there's no guarantee either way. And Marcella said, at the breakup, her mom, my ex, asked me if I would still play the role as a dad figure since her biological dad never was around. Now that is a real difficult situation because, again, I don't know where you stand legally on this. I assume probably nowhere, which is very sad and unfair. But, the way I would look at it is, if the parent of a child, i.e. your ex, is no longer wanting you to have contact with that child, or at least not making it obvious or easy, then unfortunately I would suggest you're going to have to kind of go with that, unless there is a legal standpoint you can go for. I don't know the ins and outs and the legalities. Very, very sad though. Andrea just said, I agree, I'm living my best life, I travel a lot, I'm working on myself, even if I'm not enjoying it very much because I'm pretty depressed, but I won't let it hold me down. Well, good for you. Good for you. That is what we all need to be trying to find when we're going through difficult times. We need to try and find that fuel to push forward. I like to use the example of transforming the pain into fuel to push forward. That's the best way to get through it. Andrea just said, you are a pretty nice guy, Vincent. Thank you. Oh, thanks. Thank you for your kind words. That's really, really nice of you to say. I just try my best to support people. Hopefully my channel helps you. If you're not subscribed, anybody who's listening, please do. That really helps the channel. Like the videos, etc., etc. That will always help. I just believe in positivity and moving forward and living your best life. And yes, there are some strategies to try and get an ex back, but they have to be built upon the foundation of that positivity. You can't get an ex back with any kind of strategy if you're being negative, if you're doing the wrong things. And that's why I try to get across in my podcast. Ultimately, my podcasts are generalized. My analytics show I have people listening from the ages of like 18 to 70. I have men and women. I have people from around the world. I'm very lucky to have such an audience. But what it means is I have to be generalized because I can't speak to all of you within a podcast, because you're going to have different angles and perspectives and scenarios, which is why my audio coaching service might help some of you, because that's where we can really drill down into the specifics. We speak one-on-one. In essence, it's a phone call, although we might do it over a different platform. I use Discord, for instance. I use Facebook Messenger, or I use a regular phone number, for instance. But basically, we can really drill down into those specifics because not every situation is the same. One of my audio coaching clients recently, they're a dumpy, and I suggested that they reached out to their ex. Now, that is not what you're likely to hear me say in a podcast, because I have to be general. I have to consider the generalized position, and me suggesting a dumpy reaching out to their dumper, well, that is as rare as you will find. It's as little and as least likely option as you will ever hear me say, but very, very occasionally, in that 0.1% chance, due to somebody's position, sometimes when we're speaking, we come up with a plan of action, and that might just be. So that's where the audio coaching can come in, because you might not fit with the generalized advice, but I will be as general as I can within the podcast and here in the live stream, because I can't and I don't have the time to get into the specifics for you. Obviously on a live stream we can have a little bit of back and forth, which helps, but I just try to provide you with the best chance of success based on the years I've been doing this job as a life coach, relationship coach, breakup coach, and my own experiences. I just try to help people as best I can based on those principles. Marcella said, we appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate you for taking the time to be part of this live stream. I'm not convinced that my ex is over. I would never say never. Even in a situation which looks pretty bad, I'm never going to tell you it's 100% done. I would always say, I might say to you, look, from what you've told me, you've probably got like a 1% chance. It's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. But you're not going to hear me say, it's 100% over, because I've heard the craziest situations. I've heard scenarios and situations that you just wouldn't believe. So that is why I never say never. But on the same hand, we have to be realistic. If I feel you've got a good chance, I'll tell you I think you've got a good chance. But if I don't, then I'll say that. But no, I'm never going to rule it out fully. She deleted all our, but she still have that one photo of us on her profile picture and video of me playing guitar with her daughter. I guess she can't get over it, but I'm not going to pursue. I mean, if she has photos or videos or anything like that, then that is somewhat of a positive sign. I'm not saying that anybody who deletes all of those things is a negative sign necessarily, but if they have photos and videos which are easily available and accessible, then they're going to act as constant triggers. It's a trigger. Whatever anybody would like to say, if your ex can see you and maybe hear you from a video or whatever, that is a trigger. That is going to give you that moment in their mind that if it wasn't there, that they perhaps wouldn't have seen. So, yeah, Marcel, I understand. You're saying that she's deleted most, I think, but she's got one photo of us on your profile picture. The profile picture is the most likely photo that they are going to see, just as anybody else. That's another thing. It's a profile photo, and if I understand it right, you're in it. So that means they're happy for any of their friends and family to see you within their profile photo. That's kind of crazy to me. If somebody is serious about ending a relationship, would you really keep that there? That is something that I would say is unlikely. Jennifer is here. Hi, Jennifer. Great to have you in my live stream. 3.5 years since I spoke to my ex, and he recently reached out with nostalgia for our relationship. However, he is dealing with life-threatening health issues. Wow, okay. So everybody that's here right now, we really need you to be listening to what Jennifer is saying here. 3.5 years since I spoke to my ex, and he recently reached out. Now, obviously, the trigger here is there are some life-threatening health issues which has acted as a trigger. Okay? That's what's happened. However, he's reached out. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that your exes are all going to need life-threatening health issues to get to that point, but it just shows triggers are triggers. That's 3.5 years. Remember, it was only 10 minutes ago I said I've heard some crazy situations well beyond 6 months with an ex reaching out. Jennifer's had an ex reach out after 3.5 years. Jennifer, how do you feel about this? How's it making you feel that your ex has reached out after this time? Ong has said, my ex made a playlist called The World Becomes a Fantasy. Half of them are breakup songs, 15 of them. What does that playlist mean? So I'm very, very careful about when I say what songs and things mean. This is when I talk about social media activity being something you have to be very careful of before you make assumptions. Now, your ex has made a playlist called The World Becomes a Fantasy. Half of them are breakup songs. So we can be fairly confident that there is some level of emotion and reflection going on in their mind for them to have such songs. However, I would try my hardest not to get too hung up on this, because at the end of the day, the only thing that ultimately matters is an ex reaching out. So is it a good sign? Well, it shows that they're being thoughtful about your breakup. Absolutely. But they're not quite at the point of reaching out to you, it seems. So try to focus less on their playlist and try to focus more on your own journey. That's what I would say. Jennifer has said, feeling emotional, but happy to hear from him. So Jennifer, let me ask you this. If your ex started to evolve the conversation and want to meet up or even reconnect, would you be open to this, Jennifer? Or is this not something that you really want right now in your life? Has things changed in your life right now? Marcella said, No, she changed her profile picture but did not delete it from her history. Example, when you want to see her previous profile pictures. Okay, I get you now. I understand. Okay, so it's not your ex's main profile photo. However, like you say, it's still there. It's still easily accessible and easily seen. Your ex could have easily deleted it. What I would say is that they definitely seem to be respecting the relationship you had. And who knows, maybe one day they will want to reconnect. AONG has said, I know, I understand. Yeah, it can be very difficult with playlists and things. But just everybody who's listening to today's live stream, just try to concentrate on your own journeys rather than your ex's online activity, because otherwise it could be a very difficult time for you when you overanalyze that. Jennifer has said, I'm definitely open to meeting up with him. Well, that's wonderful. That's really, really exciting. And everybody is at different stages. I mean, if Jennifer had come into this live stream a few months ago, she would have probably said, well, I had an ex. We've been separated 3 years. I've not heard from him in 3 years. I'm guessing it's done. And I would have probably said, well, never say never. It's been 3 years. That's a large chunk of time. Your chance of hearing from him again would have reduced from the year or so mark. It would have steadily gone down. I would have probably said you've got, a 5 to 10% chance of hearing from him again. If I'm being honest on that. But now Jennifer's come in. They've been separated 3.5 years and he's reached out. That just shows it. And now for Jennifer, it sounds like she's in the communication stage. It can be difficult to navigate, can be challenging. And that is one of the reasons why sometimes people ask for my support via my audio coaching service. It's something we can really delve deep into, create a plan of action, for instance. I'm not saying, Jennifer, I'm not saying you're interested in my audio coaching service, but if you are, then that is certainly something that me and other clients concentrate on. The communication aspect. It's not just about the breakup recovery, it's about the other elements further down the line. And thankfully for yourself, you've heard from your ex, and that's really, really exciting. Gloria will say, hi Gloria. Always angry at me, and we share a small child together as well. Not support and check on his baby. Want to reach out to him, but I'm alone. That reach out first always. Okay, so let's try and break this down. So you have a child together, okay? So from what I would imagine from that means you're both going to be parenting to some degree. Hopefully both of you within the child's life. This means that you can't implement a full no contact. The best you can is limited contact. Now, my version of a limited contact rule would give you that best chance of success, in my opinion, because it's going to allow space, but also opportunity to try and regrow that connection. J-Ace is here. Hi, J-Ace. Ex-girlfriend broke up with me, had to move across United States for my promotion. I don't think there's a chance, considering it's almost a year. Well, every situation is different, but if you've been in here the last 10 minutes, you would have heard Jennifer tell us how she's just heard from her ex after 3.5 years. So that is a possibility. Now, if there has been a large distance between you, that is, of course, going to be very, very difficult. It could be described as a deal breaker life goal, which is ironically something that I mention in the podcast that I'm hoping to upload tomorrow. Ultimately, you need to live your life in a way which makes you feel fulfilled. And getting a promotion in your job is very, very important. And you obviously decided this was something you wanted to do, and you moved across the country. Now, does this mean that your now ex had to continue the relationship? Well, no. They had a choice. They didn't feel it could work, probably due to the distance. But I would say that if you hadn't have taken the promotion, then you would have been unhappy, unfulfilled, and maybe even bitter towards your ex when you were together. So I feel that you probably made the right choice. And, you will find someone that fits with the lifestyle that makes you feel fulfilled. Will that be your ex? Well, maybe in the future. But if not, you will and can find someone even better. Jennifer is looking pumped with that muscle emoji and the smile. You can do this, Jennifer. You know, you've got to keep us updated now about what happens. We're all rooting for you. Gloria said, I always reach out and begged him to be in Child's life. He could care less. I'm guessing you mean couldn't care less. And told me he have a woman and she looked better than me. Well, that's terrible. Okay, firstly, your ex should be a good father. You know, if your ex isn't going to be a good dad, then that tells you everything that you need to know about him. Secondly, to be so rude to you, that's just awful. Now, it probably doesn't feel like it right now, Gloria, but it could be argued that you've had a great escape. You've had an escape from someone who is not a nice person, not a good person, not a supportive person. It doesn't sound like they'd be a good dad. So, I know very limited things about your relationship, obviously, but from hearing this, Gloria, I'm not so sure that getting him back is a good option. Smart is hi Smart. About 6 months ago now, since my ex broke up with me, she had been trying to reach out about a month or two ago. On this past Sunday, she spoke to me and told me a lot of things going on with her, but I never asked about her dating life. Well, that's really good, Smart. You know, I would certainly suggest you don't ask about her dating life. That's good. You know, because quizzing somebody, asking them about that type of thing, it's very rarely to go well. J. Asa said, oh, wow, congrats. Thanks, Vincent, for the wise words and encouragement. It's my pleasure. Jennifer has said, grateful, with a smiley face. Jennifer has kindly come in the chat today to tell everybody about how her ex, of 3.5 years of no contact, reached out to her. You know, if that doesn't give everybody hope that's listening, then I don't know what will. Perfect timing. Andrej has said, hey Vincent, how often do you think that exes come back? That's a great question. I don't have the exact statistics, but what I would say is that most exes consider coming back. There's a difference there. You know, how many exes come back in comparison to how many think about coming back? I would say most think about coming back. But how many of them can we get over the line? Well, that is down to the individual circumstances, you know, and it's really, really important that we try to push forward with our own lives and all of the other hints, tips and advice that I try to give you that intricate option and the intricate possibility of just trying to get it over the line, because that's what we need to do. Whilst everybody's here, by the way, I just wanted to let you all know, and maybe you know already and you're just not bothered, you know, that's fine. But just to let you know that I do have an Instagram and a Pinterest now. Just started on both. Very, very tiny. You know, not a lot of followers. In fact, on Pinterest, I don't think I've got one. Instagram, I've got a few. If any of you would be interested in my Pinterest or my Instagram, if you go on any of my latest videos, like the last few, in the description, I have put the links to those social medias. It's just in the most recent ones, but I've kind of been putting it in the description. It would be great to have some followers so I didn't feel so lonely on there. But you don't have to, of course. It's all your choice. But yes, if you're on Pinterest, if you're on Instagram, if you want to follow me, there is unique content on both of there, and it's going to be growing and it's going to be diversifying a bit. It is different to what you find on YouTube. So yeah, there's that little plug. If you like Instagram, if you like Pinterest, you can follow me on there if you want to. If you don't, that's fine. Nikki has said, my ex monkey branched to a co-worker. I'm sorry to hear that. Almost a year. Apparently a lot of fun. Moved in together after a couple of months. Had neutral communication over that year, but doing no contact now. Chances of her missing me. So let me just reread that. My ex monkey branched to a co-worker. Almost a year. Apparently a lot of fun. Moved in together. I suppose some of the things I would need to know, Nikki, is how long your actual relationship was with your ex, and what it was like. That would be very, very important to know. CP the artist. Hello, Vincent. I hope all is well. Doing good, thank you, CP. In fact, funnily enough, CP the artist is one of my few Instagram followers. So, well timed on that appearance, CP. Yes, if you want to be like CP, follow me on Instagram, but especially Pinterest. No followers so far on that, yeah. Very, very lonely, but unique content. Right, let's get back to it. Nikki has said, we were together for 6 years. She left because I was emotionally shut down. 6 years, good chunk of time. Plenty of triggers, plenty of memories, plenty of opportunity for your ex to think of you. She left because she was emotionally shut down. So during this time apart, hopefully you've grown emotionally. It can be very difficult. I'm not saying for certain that you have an avoidance attachment style, but it's certainly possible from the very brief things that I know of you. Concentrating on yourself, living a positive life. Is your ex going to think of you? Absolutely. You can't be in a relationship for 6 years and not have somewhat regular thoughts through the triggers and the memories. Marcella said, just need you to know, I often fall asleep listening to your podcasts. You're the boss, Mr. Boss. I will look you up. Wow. Thank you, Marcel. That's very, very kind. I appreciate that. It makes me feel like I'm doing a good job. I put my heart and soul into this. And hearing that makes me feel that it's helping. At the end of the day, I want to help. I want to help people get through their difficult times and find a brighter future. And if I'm able to do that, that makes me feel really good. So thank you. CP the artist said, my ex said she learned from a friend about my grandmother passing. So she contacted me via email. She's to give me condolences for my grandmother passing. I kept it pleasant. Well, good for you, CP. It's difficult sometimes to keep things pleasant with an ex when sometimes we feel frustrated or even bitter. You kept it pleasant, and what that means is the interaction that you've shared is positive. That is the most recent memory your ex has of you, and it went well. So well done for you on that. For Crispy Man, I went through a divorce last summer, and it's basically been radio silence on both sides for about 1 year or so. We were together for 10 years. Wow. So 10 years is a huge amount of time, an incredible amount of memories and triggers. Your ex will certainly think of you often, even if you haven't heard from one another. That being said, do you think this drop percentage-wise after the year mark, feeling like all is lost at this point? So statistically speaking, I do unfortunately see a decline in chances of getting an ex back once you've been broken up a year. The reason for that is that means that every anniversary has happened at least once. Every birthday, Christmas, New Year, whatever it may be, it's happened at least once. And although exes don't always come back on those days, they do act as pulls and special triggers. So if someone gets through all of that and hasn't reconnected, I do see a decline in chance of getting your ex back. However, let's go back to our superstar Jennifer, if Jennifer's still in here right now. Jennifer came into today's chat to tell everybody her ex that she hadn't heard from in 3.5 years recently contacted her. So if we need any evidence that anything's possible, Jennifer is here to share all of that goodness. So does it drop after a year? Unfortunately, I do believe slowly but surely it does. But does it mean it's impossible? Absolutely not. It's not impossible. And you've had a good chunk of time together. So you've got to really believe in yourself, Crispy Man. And that is one hell of a good username, I must add as well. AONG has said, it's really hard to read my ex. She won't even unfriend or block me because of her ego. She has said before that it would show that she cares, and she doesn't want to show that. Our ex is always stubborn. I wouldn't describe ex as necessarily always as stubborn, but you have to bear in mind that a dumper has come to a conclusion that you and them are not going on a journey together which fulfills them. Now that might sound hard to say and horrible, but it's the truth. Somebody ends a relationship because they do not believe in the relationship. Okay? So are they stubborn, or are they just trying to follow through with what may have been a very difficult choice? Or is that one and the same? That is the differences for you to consider. Sometimes it's not about them being a stubborn person, it's just about them trying to follow a path that they believe is going to give them happier moments in their life. Nikki said, thank you. I did apologise to her, tried to show that I can change. Well, good for you, Nikki. You've done everything that you can. And now you've got to concentrate on you and believe that you will have that happy future, because you deserve it. We all deserve a happy future. Keep moving forward. Jennifer is still here. Jennifer's our superstar. If anybody can beat 3.5 years without hearing from their ex and then getting a message, please let us know. I very much doubt that we will have that beaten today. Crispy Man has said thank you. Is that due to the advice, or me saying you've got a great username? Maybe a bit of both. It's great to have so many people in today's live stream that I've not recognised the usernames of. It's obviously good to have people come back as well, but there's a lot of people I've not recognised the usernames of since my last live stream, which albeit was a couple of months ago. But it's great. Thank you for being part of my channel community. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like the videos. It helps the YouTube algorithm push it out to more people and support more people. I like to believe, you can let me know what you think on this, but I like to believe that my YouTube channel is the most positive relationship, dating, breakup channel that you will find. And I really want to help as many people as I can. And by getting the videos out there, that's how we can really help more people. And that is done by subscribing, liking the videos. In fact, if you haven't watched, was it yesterday's video, then please do. Hasn't done very well. So maybe it's not really appealed to people, which is fine. But interestingly, the people who have watched it, the average view duration, which is what you get told on YouTube, is really, really long, which basically tells me that those of you who have watched it did enjoy it and it was helpful, but not many of you wanted to click it. You don't have to, but maybe it is something that could help, again, based on the people who did watch it. They watched it for a long time. So if you haven't checked out yesterday's podcast, please take a look at it and let me know what you think. But Crispy Man said both. It was the advice and the username compliment. Thank you, Crispy Man. Marcella said, I heard from 3 exes from over 20 years ago in December 2023. Well, I didn't think we would beat you, Jennifer. I have to apologise. It looks like it's just been smashed. However, Jennifer's is very, very recent, and Marcel, we are having to go back a few months now. I don't know whether to still give Jennifer the prize for the longest amount of time. But look, all of this is great for anybody listening, reading, hoping. Look what people are typing. It's not me saying it. It's what actually has happened to other people. Aries says, hi Aries. Hi Vincent, your videos helps us a lot. Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you to say. I had a question. I'd been in a relationship from the past 8 years. Due to me being insecure in relationship, she broke up with me and blocked me. It's been months now. I'm really sorry to hear that. We had somebody earlier mentioning about blocking, and it's a terrible feeling. Now, the bad news, which I'll say first, is we can't guarantee you will ever be unblocked. I can't promise you this, but the good news is that I've known of many people who have been unblocked. So it is possible. And I've known people that were blocked for many, many, many months, and then they were unblocked. So there is absolutely a chance that you could still hear from your ex again. Now, I don't want you concentrating on that. We can't have you fully focused on that possibility because there's no guarantees in this life. But what I can say is that it is possible, Aries. So try to hold that within you, but then focus on your own path. CP has said, No, it's just that algorithm. Is that in reference to not many people watching my video? Possibly so. Yeah. I've heard so many people tell me that even though they're subscribed, they don't even get told when I upload a video, which is really disappointing. By and large, okay, now look, this can't always be the case. There might be times that it doesn't fit this, but currently, my current upload schedule, if I'm able to maintain it, and I'm trying my best, is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. I'm trying to upload at least 4 a week. It might not always be that way, but I'm trying my best. And I'm also doing the odd YouTube short as well, if you're interested in that type of content. But if you haven't been notified of one of my uploads, just check out the channel, because I'm uploading, like I said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. You know, every other day, sometimes 2 days in a row. So if you've not heard anything in about 4 days, just go to the channel itself, because I'm sure there'll be something there for you that you haven't been notified of. Marcella said, how do we find the video? Maybe we missed it. I mean, maybe people just didn't want to watch, which is fine. But literally, it's just my latest upload. My latest upload. So if you just click on my channel and click latest video, it was uploaded yesterday. Just hasn't done nowhere near as well as my normal videos do, which is fine. You know, maybe the title wasn't appealing. I'm only mentioning it because, like I said, the average view duration was really, really long. So I thought, okay, people who have watched it did like it, and I just want to help as many people as I can. It's seemingly a helpful video, but just not as many people as normal have watched it, which, like I said, is fine. But yes, my latest video from yesterday. There will be a new video hopefully tomorrow as well. Marcella said, no, Jennifer deserves the win. I'm just mentioning it to prove exes do come back. Well, that is very gracious of you, Marcel. But it's important, yeah. You know, I don't like it when people say things like an ex is an ex for a reason. Okay, there is an obvious thing where there's been a breakup, something wasn't quite right, obviously, but there is always hope of reconnection. And people do get back together. I see it often. So I don't like it when people just completely kind of throw it away and say, no, this can never happen. Sometimes reconnections are a good thing. Sometimes they're not so good, and sadly they fall apart once more. Every situation is different. CP has said, because I've moved on from my ex, I watched less of your videos. I'll do my best to watch. Oh, CP, you don't have to. Honestly, you don't have to watch the videos if you don't need the support with them. It's very kind of you to say, but honestly, only watch if it could help you in your current situation. Andres just said, my ex was the opposite than Aries. She was always telling me how she doesn't deserve me and that I'm the best thing that ever happened to her. She did post some stories about her being scared and putting her walls up. Sadly, that is something that happens. Sometimes people can have anxiety. They can have many different worries, concerns, conditions. So many different things can happen, which can cause someone to think to themselves that they don't want to be in a relationship anymore. Maybe they start behaving in a self-destructive way. It's very sad, but also very common regarding putting up walls, etc. So where in the world is everybody listening? When I started today's podcast, live stream even, when I started the live stream, I did ask people. We had people from in many different continents, which was great. Lots of different countries. For those of you who are still with me now, please let me know. Andrea said, yeah, she was super scared that I would leave her, so she left me before her fears came true. Yeah, it's the self-fulfilling prophecy. Which is sadly sometimes enacted by people who have had past trauma. Marcella said, your videos are not only for getting our exes back. I've learned so much and know what to do for the future. Thank you, Marcel. That's really, really kind. I really do try my hardest to help as many people as I can. I really appreciate it. AM, is it? Hi, AM. How are you? Sydney, Australia. Wow. So AM is in the future compared to me. A completely different day. I hope you are enjoying... What day will you be on? I'm tired of myself. I'm getting confused. So AM, you will now be on... It'll be Sunday, won't it? Sunday? Yeah, you'll be on Sunday. How's your Sunday going, AM? AONG is in the US. Great to have you here as well. Ollie is here. Hi, Ollie. Hi, Vincent. Thank you for all of the videos you do. They've been such a massive help. Thank you. My situation is really complicated. Broke up summer 2022 after nearly 5 years, engaged and living together. Okay, I'll wait for your part 2. AM said, yes, Sunday here. Also, AM, you will be moving slowly but surely towards winter, won't you? Which I still find that hard to get my head around as someone in the Northern Hemisphere. That as we move into May and into June, that there are people in the world who see that as the winter. Still blows my mind. It's getting cold. I bet your cold winters are probably just as warm as my summers. Olia said, stayed friends for a year. She moved around the corner but still kept coming to my karate club. She asked me to go on a date again in the summer 2023. Said she didn't have feelings but didn't want to... Well, I'm hanging on here. I feel like I'm on a cliffhanger, Ollie. So for those of you who are new to my channel, please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Maybe that's the reason why some of you haven't been notified. I know that you don't just have to subscribe now, you actually have to ring that bell, else YouTube might not even bother telling you about an upload. I mean, how complicated do they want to make it? Just allow the subscribe button, but there you go. Andres just said, is it really a red flag if a girl says that she never had a good guy, or if she says that no one treated her so good in her life? I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that's a red flag if nobody has treated them well. That is just a very unfortunate situation. You can always be the first to treat them well. Olia said she didn't want to give up on our future. Day after the second date, said she started having feelings for her friends with benefits, I'm guessing. Had been sleeping around the whole year with multiple friends with benefits. We fell out and cut contact a month later. Oh, I'm sorry to hear this, Ollie. Not good when you find all that information out, I'm sure. Clearly, you still have a lot of care between you. I mean, I'm not saying right now things are great because you had a fallout, but the fact that you were friends for a year and she wanted to try again in some way, there is some feeling there. Now, I would never suggest remaining platonic friends with someone you have romantic interest for. So that is also just something to bear in mind. Oh, there's more. 2 weeks later, she is in a new relationship with who I believe is that guy. Still together now after nearly 8 months later. I have seen some weird things on social media I wanted to ask about. Okay, please do. Please ask about, Ollie. We're all waiting with a feeling of tenseness. I'm very tense, wondering what has been seen on social media, because you never know. You never know. social media has some strange and wonderful things. I think everybody in the chat is just waiting with bated breath now to see what Ollie puts. Okay, so our karate club have a Facebook group, and despite her stopping just under a year ago, she's still a member and sees posts about me on there. Also, still friends with my mum, my best mate, and our karate instructor. Okay. What were your questions connected to that? I mean, my initial response on what I've read so far is I wouldn't describe any of that as weird. I'm not saying that is what you were referencing, but okay. Also still friends with me on TikTok despite removing off Facebook and Instagram when we fell out. Being friends with people and following people, often it's just people either forget, they can't be bothered to change things, but sometimes it is to keep an eye on people. You know, we just don't know for certain. As for being a member of a group of something that we left a year ago, I know lots of people who just do that. You know, they'll be a member of something, they don't really attend it anymore, but they just still stay a member. You know, is it to keep tabs on you, to have a look at what you're doing? Possibly. But I wouldn't necessarily hold a lot of weight on that at the moment, only because at the end of the day she is in a new relationship, and it's not healthy for you to be looking every day and thinking, right, is she still my friend? Is she still following the instructor? You know, if you're doing that, then you're taking away your precious time, which could be used on living your life to the full. You know, currently, and unfortunately, she is in a relationship with someone else right now. And until that changes, and until she contacts you directly, it probably isn't going to make too much difference in what she's doing online. Could she be viewing what you're posting? Yes, she could. You know, and if that encourages you to live your best life and post powerful content, which is based on the truth, you know, not lies, but truth, then that's a good thing. But please try not to get too hung up on it. Marcella said, how do you know when to move on without risking blowing the chance of reuniting? It's a great question. I believe in moving forward rather than moving on, which means, really, that unless your mental health is suffering, I do not suggest you block your ex. Unless your mental health is suffering, I do not suggest that you kind of, quote-unquote, tell them some home truths. Maybe if you're struggling with something, you feel that you've got to. But by and large, I would just focus on moving forward with your life, but not ever fully closing the door. You know, you can meet new people, you can connect with new people, you can date new people, but you don't have to block your ex. You don't have to tell them, hey, look, don't ever contact me again. You just leave it open. You know, that is the best of both worlds, I would say. So Ollie has said, also still friends. Oh, I read that bit. What's your view? Has she genuinely moved on? All I would say is that we can only look at the current situation. And the current situation is she is in a relationship with someone else. So right now she's unavailable. And while she's unavailable, you need to concentrate on your own life as much as you can. Has she really moved on? Well, you know, what does moving on really mean? You know, at the moment she's in a relationship. Probably not in a position to want to date you. But if she becomes single tomorrow and starts checking out your social media, you know, had she ever really moved on? So it's very difficult to pinpoint. But in the current climate, she is in a relationship. So we need to try and take our mind and our focus off her. I believe she is a fearful avoidant. She told me early in our relationship she was avoidant, but didn't specify which avoidant type. Sometimes I think we can get too hung up on elements which, although have importance, aren't relevant to our current situation. So attachment styles are really big, really important, especially within a relationship. They make differences to how we connect. But when we've been broken up with, and if they're in a relationship with somebody else, it doesn't really matter what their attachment style is. The only thing I would say right now is, unfortunately, at the moment, they are unavailable. Okay, if they become available again, then that is where more importance lies in certain things. But try your hardest, everybody, to not get fully focused on the micromanagement of what's going on with your ex, because you can only control the controllables, and the controllables is your own life. Marcel Williams has said thank you. Well, thank you, Marcel. Frank is here. Hi, Frank. So my girl pulled back and started acting strange, so I moved out after 6 weeks of living together. She called 52 times and wanted me back right away. I wanted to take it slow as to fix the issue. Okay. I'm not sure if you're going to add more to that, Frank, but that tells me that she was very desperate to fix the issue. And that's a really good sign. If you want to get back together and your ex phones you 52 times, look, as a dumpy, I would never suggest you do that. But if your ex is the dumper and they end a relationship and then they call you 52 times, or that's a lot, and that's kind of, unnerving perhaps even. The fact that they're doing that at least shows that they've changed their mind, which gives you a position to consider. Ollie said, and I'm posting on Facebook groups we're both members of. One more weird thing. In November, her boyfriend was no longer following her on TikTok. She doesn't follow him. Ollie, honestly, my advice to you is to stop micromanaging all of this, because it's not helping you. It really isn't. It doesn't matter who follows who. It doesn't matter who likes who. All that matters is currently, unfortunately, your ex is in a new relationship. And currently and unfortunately, you're single. That is the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter who follows who. Unless she's reached out to you and said, hey, It doesn't matter. The time you're spending looking at who's following who, you could be using much more valuably, for yourself. You could use that time in a much more valuable way to grow as a person, self-improvement, live your life to the full. I bet you, if you added up all of these little checks you do probably each day, or over the course of a week, shall we say, I bet you will have hours of time that you're spending looking, which you could be using in a more proactive way. So my strong suggestion, Ollie, is that you try to take your focus off your ex and instead focus on you. Because ironically, the best chance of getting your ex back is to do just that. That's the irony. Taking your focus away from them is actually your best chance to get them back. Okay, everyone, well, it's been an absolute brilliant live stream today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I think I'll start to wrap up now. It's gone midnight where I live. I'm kind of tired. I don't want to start talking nonsense. I'll try and read the last couple of messages that I can. But thank you so much for joining. If you're interested in speaking with me one-on-one via my audio coaching service, there is a link at the top of this chat which takes you to my website and explains all of the details. As I said earlier, I do have an Instagram and a Pinterest if you're interested in different types of content as well. The links of how to follow my other social media can be found in all of my most recent videos in the descriptions. In the most recent ones you will find those links. I'll just read these last messages. Thank you, Ollie. Well, thank you so much for being part of today's live stream. Franca said, after I left, she tried acting like she was the dumper because she wanted control. We've had contact in the last 34 days, but the last 4 I went no contact. What I would say, Frank, is consider whether or not you want this relationship to continue and rejoin, because if you do, and if she's contacting you, then this is something you need to try and jump on at that time. Andrej has said, thanks Vincent, have a good night. Thank you, Andrej. AM has said, my boyfriend and I began as friends for 12 years, best friends for 5, and committed a romantic relationship for 1 year. We broke up 6 weeks ago. Sorry to hear that. His mother was having his mother was having tantrums every time we tried to spend time together. He broke up with me right after she'd agreed to meet with us to talk. So this sounds a classic situation of where there is a parent, a family member, creating some friction, which I would always say try your best to get on and make allowances to family members and the like. Obviously within reason, not when it becomes totally unreasonable, but your partner is very unlikely to ever side with you ahead of they say blood is thicker than water. So just bear that in mind. If you have a problem, anybody this is listening, if you have a problem with a family member of your partner, this could get to a position where your partner has to choose them or yourself, and by and large, generally speaking, blood is thicker than water, and it doesn't often go in your favour. I'm not saying in AM's particular instance that was the right thing, because sometimes you do need to make a stand, but if possible, try and keep things as relaxed and calm as possible. I think he broke up with me because it was all too much. Yeah, exactly. He's probably thinking, my mum, my girlfriend, what can I do here? And sadly, I do see that. When he broke up, he never mentioned her, said he lost attraction. Chance he will ever come back to me. There is always a chance, and the fact he said he lost attraction, he didn't go into the detail. The attraction he lost may have been due to you and his mum not seeing eye to eye, or it could be for other reasons. I don't like to give, thoughts on things but I'm not fully aware of. I don't know your story well enough. But I would say that there is always a chance. You had a long friendship which developed into romance, which isn't always the case, but you did really well there. You've got a lot of history, a lot of memories, a lot of triggers. I would say there's a good chance that he will reconsider the situation. But whether or not it gets over the line, I just couldn't say for certain. Again, along with anybody here, maybe you would find benefit from my audio coaching service where we can really dive in deep to this. I don't know whether you feel that or not, but on the limited information I know, I have to be somewhat vague, unfortunately. Frank has said, thanks, but she didn't seem into getting back together, so I didn't push it. I figured if she wants to talk, she'll make an effort. She told me aside from me leaving, she has absolutely no complaints. Sounds fairly complex, Frank. Again, your ex called you 50 odd times, and they're not, to me, that seems like they're interested in some type of reconnection. And who was the dumper and who was the dumpy? Again, it sounds somewhat confusing from the limited information I have, but try to focus on what you want, and if a door opens, don't close it in their face. Amos said he cried and stared into my eyes for eternity before he left. It felt like he loved me, so I just have to remain in no contact. Thank you, I'll arrange a coaching session. If you feel that you're not sure which way to turn, the no contact rule is always a good position. You can't chase someone out of your life in no contact. So if in doubt, never contact your ex again unless they contact you first. But there are caveats to the rule. And if you did want to speak via audio coaching, we could really delve in deep. So thank you for saying you'd consider that. Marcella said, have a good night's rest, coach. You deserve it. Your content is gold. Thank you, Marcel. I appreciate that. You too. Have a good night or day or whatever the time is where you are. Make sure you're having a good one. Franca said, we did super good communication when we were long distance, and I moved in and it suffered. I don't know why, so that's why I left. So, you were good with long distance, but when you moved in together, it suffered. That tells me that the relationship, when it was long distance, it's not really the same. You know, you don't really fully know each other until you live with one another for a while. And sadly, when you did get to know each other properly, it just sadly at that time didn't click. She's sending mixed signals. It's frustrating, Frank. And you've got to just try and navigate that as best you can. Stay positive, everybody. It's been a pleasure speaking to you all. Make sure that you live your life to the full. Be positive every day, and remember that with or without your ex, you will have a positive future. Thank you, everybody, and good night.